What's the most ridiculous way you accidentally became the event planner for a complete stranger's party? I went to a neighborhood hall to pick up a folding table I'd rented for exactly 2 hours of adulting. Inside, a frazzled man in a glitter-speckled blazer ran past me carrying 3 helium balloons and an extension cord that screamed story. He stopped, looked at my clipboard, and said, "Thank God, you're the coordinator." I opened my mouth to explain that I was, in fact, a civilian with a sedan. Then a marching band of 9-year-olds blared through the lobby and the blazer man vanished into the brass. The hall was hosting a surprise party for someone named Big Dan, a name that implies opinions about potato salad. The decorators had taped a banner reading "Happy Birthday" because the Y and the last Y had eloped. The DJ, who looked 12 and had a laptop full of confidence, asked me where to put the fog machine. I pointed vaguely at "over there," which is how leaders are born. The crisis map unfolded quickly. The cake was late. The magician was early. The balloons were ambitious. A boy in a cape practiced card tricks with the grim focus of a surgeon. A woman thrust a clipboard into my hands, run of show, and I watched myself become the person who says, "Let's move cake to 3:10 and magician to 3:25, confetti cannon at 3:40, no earlier." Somewhere, a switch flipped. I love a schedule. Aunt Eva announced that Big Dan was 5 minutes out. We had neither cake nor YS. I dispatched the DJ to loop a playlist called Dan Bangers. It contained 3 songs and a hope, sent Glitter Blazer to kidnap 2 YS from the banner that said "Easy Exit" by adding tape in faith, and asked the magician to stall at the door performing Soft Wonder for arriving uncles. The magician palmed a quarter and my anxiety simultaneously. The cake arrived, tilted like a ship learning humility, bearing an edible photo of Big Dan in sunglasses, looking like a man who would forgive gravity. We hid it in the kitchen, where the oven was baking 40 frozen pigs in blankets that hissed friendship. I assigned teams: streamers, chairs, Y hunt, Dan watch. People love missions, chaos loves delegation. Then fate tossed us a Rubik's Cube. The power blinked. The room exhaled. The DJ's laptop did the spinning wheel of "You've made choices." The fog machine rebooted to dragon mode and belched smoke like a theater kid. The fire alarm considered a career change. I pulled an extension cord, the DJ resurrected the beat, and the magician, bless him, made a backup playlist appear from a hat. A child saluted me with a streamer. We were a village. Big Dan's car pulled up. The room lights died on purpose, because now we were artists. We hissed "shoo" with the gusto of librarians. The door opened. The magician flung confetti like a benevolent blizzard. We yelled "surprise" so hard we startled the balloons into a low orbit. Big Dan clutched his chest, laughed, and hugged 5 people at once with the wingspan of a condor. The program flowed. The karaoke mic worked for exactly every other person, which is how fairness is achieved. The magician levitated a ring. Big Dan levitated joy. Aunt Eva performed a poem titled "Ode to Dan" that had a middle section entirely about crockpots. At 3:38, I made the call: advance the confetti cannon. Glitter Blazer, eyes shining, pulled the lanyard. Pfft. A blizzard of shiny paper declared victory. The fog machine got jealous and puffed dramatically. The DJ lowered the lights like a cinematographer. The cake marched forth like a deity on wheels. When they asked for a group photo, the photographer's battery died. I raised my phone like a torch. 3 more phones rose. We formed a hydra of megapixels. On 3. I yelled, because apparently I was the type of person who yells things on 3. The picture, I'm told, looks like happiness collided with a craft store. As I left with my folding table, finally Big Dan hugged me and said, "Did you plan this?" I said no, and then, because it felt true, yes. He handed me a slice of cake the size of a legal pad. On the way home, I found a confetti star in my hair and 2 extra YS in my pocket. I kept one on my fridge. Every time I'm accidentally put in charge of a thing, I touch the Y and think, say yes, schedule later.
What's the most chaotic late-night airport saga that turned total strangers into a tiny family? It was the 11:45 p.m. flight that pushed back to whenever. The departure board blinked delayed in a font that felt personal. Gate B17 became a village, a violin case, a guy with a pizza box labeled emotional support, a woman wearing a neck pillow like a crown. The PA apologized every 10 minutes with the cadence of a lullaby. A toddler in dinosaur pajamas ruled the floor economy. At 12:32 a.m., a ground crew member wheeled over a box of single-serve waters. The entire gate applauded hydration. A man in a business suit clapped too solemnly, like water had delivered us from Q4. The vibe was, trapped in a sitcom, so I broke the ice, literally, by opening a bag of hotel ice and distributing cubes napkin to napkin like communion. People smiled with the relief of being seen in a flying metal tube's waiting room. Enter the violin. A teenager, nervous, fierce, asked if anyone would mind a song. Gate B17 murmured, "God, yes." She played something that sounded like forgiveness. A flight attendant on standby turned her tablet into a music stand. A man did a soft shoe with dignity. The toddler nodded like a tiny dean. For 90 seconds, we were a movie with a budget for feelings. Then came the crisis. Our plane had arrived but our crew was illegal, which I learned means humans cannot time travel. The agent said a new crew was en route, a phrase that covers a multiverse. The pizza guy distributed slices. The neck pillow queen produced a deck of cards and launched Uno, Gate Edition. We made teams, aisle, window, middle, they got 2 extra cards and our pity. I met a retired math teacher who counted in sevens for fun and a nurse who said, "If anyone faints, I'm clocked out, but I'll point helpfully." At 1:48 a.m., the PA announced, "We have a crew." The gate cheered like Beyoncé had landed. Then, plot twist, the crew needed a 20-minute rest. Gate B17 slid into delirium. We invented a chant, 20 minutes. We believe. The toddler led. The agent laughed so hard she forgot to be corporate and told us the truth, "I can't promise, but I want this for all of us." We boarded at 2:12 a.m. Row 22 became a neighborhood. The violinist tucked her case, the pizza guy offered crust diplomacy, the nurse triaged overhead bin Tetris. We pushed back. The pilot said, "We're going to go fast, not reckless fast, but like we're excited to be home." The cabin clapped. Midair, the lights dimmed, and for a rare minute, 50 strangers breathed the same calm. Landing at 3:37 a.m., the plane erupted in that forbidden clapping. I clapped too. At the carousel, our bags spun out like prizes on a sleep-deprived game show. We hugged people we'd known for 3 hours. The agent from B17 walked by, off shift, hair down, human again. We applauded quietly for her alone, a tiny ovation in the fluorescent dawn. She bowed like a friend. I still have the boarding pass. On the back, the math teacher scrawled, 7 times 7 equals you made it.
What's the most unhinged roommate interview that somehow worked? I listed the spare room with photos that made my apartment look like it had plants that paid rent. I set up 15-minute slots, efficient, clinical, humane. The first candidate arrived with a binder labeled roommate prospectus and a pie, which is a strong brand. She presented a slide, paper, but still, on shared butter ethics complete with a Venn diagram, yours/mine/Earth's butter. She asked if I believed in dishwashers as machines or as aspirations. I said machines. She nodded, compatibility unlocked. Candidate 2 brought a small harp. She said, "I'm quiet except for harp o'clock," then played a scale so pretty the sink decided to drain. Candidate 3 was a stand-up comic who tested a bit about chore wheels while holding my broom like a microphone. Candidate 4 arrived with a snake tank hat. The snake wore the hat. The hat said "Enodrama." I respected the commitment. Halfway through, the building's fire alarm chirped low battery, the sound that erases sanity. I apologized. Candidate 5, a paramedic named Jules, took a chair, climbed up, and changed the battery with the casual heroism of someone who has opinions about preparedness. The apartment applauded. The snakes had approved. Then the power flickered. My Wi-Fi, named God is in the router, reconsidered faith. The harpist began Here Comes the Sun at whisper volume. The comic riffed about Mercury in retrograde and leasing offices in denial. The prospectus pie turned into morale. In the soft chaos, people began helping. Someone fixed a wobbly table leg with a coaster, someone labeled the mystery switch's lamp and mood. Jules ran a roommate fire drill. Where's the extinguisher? Where's the breaker? Do we trust the kettle? We did now. At that point, the interviews stopped being interviews and became a group project. We test drove chore charts. We debated shoe policy, seasonal. We created a bathroom treaty with clauses like the steam mirror clause, 1 wipe per shower, and the Spotify amnesty provision, you may play a terrible song while cleaning if you dance with the sponge. The comic improvised, we find the sponge innocent. The harp punctuated with tiny flourishes. The snake had a jar, judged. I realized the obvious, I didn't need a roommate, I needed this roommate. Jules, the paramedic with the battery and the calm. We stepped aside. I asked about night shifts, quiet hours, emergency snacks. She said, I label my chili like a poem. We shook hands, the room clapped, the harp did a tiny fanfare. The snake blinked slow approval. We texted the others grateful goodbyes with a shared Google Doc of our treaties. People asked for copies, the comic used it in a bit, the harpist invited us to a show. On move-in day, the fire alarm chirped once, like a greeting. Jules changed it before I stood up. The snake visited once for tea, hat freshly lint-rolled. We still use the butter ven. There's a chart on the fridge that says who bought the toilet paper and a pie emoji next to Jules' name because a legend brought dessert to an interview and somehow built a home.
What's the biggest DIY tiny fix that escalated into a community renovation? The hallway light outside my apartment flickered like a haunted GIF. I decided to change the bulb, which felt like the most low-stakes errand a human can attempt. I dragged out a chair, climbed up in socks, a choice, and discovered this wasn't a bulb. It was a cryptic disc glued to the ceiling like it was hiding state secrets. I twisted left, right, prayed to IKEA. Nothing. I texted the building chat. Anyone know how to open the hallway light? Replies arrived like popcorn. Nope. Same problem on 2F. My son tried with a spatula. I know a guy named Stan. Stan is on his way. Stan is our building myth. Retired engineer, owns every tool, and exudes the calm of a man who has repaired the moon. He appeared with a toolbox the size of a carry-on and a headlamp that could interrogate a submarine. He tapped the fixture, listened to its crimes, and announced, "This is not a bulb. It's a ballast." He said ballast like a knight naming a dragon. We killed power at the panel, labeled kitchen, maybe hall mystery, and the hallway filled with curious neighbors carrying pastries, babies, and opinions. Someone handed out painter's tape like party favors. We pried off the plastic lens and found a tangle of wires last updated during the dial-up era. The ballast is cooked, Stan declared. We replace. While Stan operated, the hallway began confessing other sins. The stair rail wobbled like a drunk giraffe. The mailboxes squeaked in a 3-part harmony. The fire extinguisher sign pointed at a depressed fern. The baseboard on 3 was making a credible attempt to become abstract art. A neighbor said, "Should we just fix everything?" Silence, then a chorus of yes from people who own hex keys and too much anxious energy. A Saturday spruce-up was born on the spot. In 10 minutes we had stations. Lighting, Stan, 2 assistants, 1 label maker named LaBelle. Rail and hardware, Mrs. Alvarez, who used to build theater sets and could eyeball a level from orbit. Mail and signs, 2 dads with WD-40 and a vendetta. Paint and patch, a ceramicist named Joe who said, "Texture is my love language." Snacks and morale, a rotating crew with brownies, cold brew, and a playlist titled "We Are Competent." We posted a hand-drawn flyer on the front door that read, "Hallway, we're coming for you politely," and added a sign-up sheet with tasks like deglitter elevator, descuff dragon mark, and rehome fern. A kid from 2B, Bubble Master, was put in charge of the level. They took it so seriously, we almost applied for a grant. The ballot surrendered after a dramatic clicking sound. We mocked up new LED strips, energy efficient, smug, traced the wires, and labeled every junction box like we were writing a novel. Hall A North, Hall A South, Ceiling Gremlin, later corrected to Ceiling Junction for professionalism. The light flicked on. The hallway, previously haunted, now looked like it had a skincare routine. Momentum is a drug. Someone produced a bucket of spackle that had been quietly aging in a closet since 2011. We patched the stomping scars, the mysterious gouge shaped like Nebraska, the ick on floor 4. Joe feathered edges with the tenderness of a pastry chef. Mrs. Alvarez rebuilt the wobbly rail with lag screws that looked like they could hold up a small bridge. WD-40 Choir turned the mailboxes from squeak to purr. We found the real fire extinguisher and rotated the sign toward it like a moral victory you can measure. The superintendent appeared, hands on hips, eyebrows at, "What are you people doing to my building?" He left 10 minutes later with 2 brownies and a punch list we were already halfway through. He returned with proper supplies, anchors, plates, a real ladder that didn't wobble like a philosophy major, and the sacred permission. "If you're doing it, do it right," he said. Stan nodded like 2 generals agreeing to share a stapler. At noon, someone wheeled in a shop vac and discovered the Great Lint Reef in Laundry Room A, a geological formation of drier lint with its own microclimate. We excavated using tongs, shop vac, and light prayer. The dryer spun easier. A chorus of socks achieved closure. Behind one machine we found a note from 1999. "Hi, future neighbors. If you're reading this, the light still stinks. Be brave." We slapped a new note next to it. "It stank. We fought. We won. 2025. By early afternoon, the project had scope creep in the good way. The hallway got motion sensors, $19, and a dream, so the lights no longer played peekaboo. We stenciled tiny arrows. Stairs exit ice cream, morale only. A graphic designer taped up a mini mural. 3 little trees for Maple Street, a mailbox with eyebrows, a cat named Toe staring at a sunbeam like it owes him money. The kid added hand-drawn stars and insisted on a plaque. Hallway, renovated by U.S. Approved. The tool library happened by accident. People kept borrowing Stan's drill. We cleared a shelf in the storage room, labeled bins, drill, ask Stan, stud finder, aka wall gossip, painter's tape, hammer, blue, hammer, mysterious, and slapped a QR code that opened a spreadsheet with columns borrower, date, return, joke. You couldn't check something out without writing a bad pun. Compliance was 100%. Our last act was the Door of Doom on 4F. It scraped the floor with prehistoric menace. 3 people held, 1 person planed, 1 person listened for ghosts. The door glided shut after 20 minutes, like a ballerina discovering boundaries. We cheered so loudly someone's sourdough starter woke up. At dusk we stepped back and stared. The hallway looked cared for. Clean lines. Even light. No squeaks. A motion sensor winked on like, "Fancy seeing you here." The superintendent, off duty now and surprisingly sentimental, took a photo of us standing under the new fixture. "You did good," he said quietly. "Don't tell corporate. They'll ask me to budget for joy." The next morning a new tenant rolled a suitcase in and said, "This building feels nice." "It is," we said, collectively, like a choir of WD-40. The hallway hasn't flickered since. The tool library lives. The Bubble Master was promoted to Laser Leveler after someone donated a laser. And on the bulletin board, under the mural, a sign stays taped up. See a small thing? Fix it. See a medium thing? Ask Stan. See a big thing? Bring brownies.
What's the funniest customer support chat you've had, where both of you were obviously improvising? I opened a website chat because my order 1 lamp, 1 rug, 1 reckless decision was marked delivered to an address that does not exist in this timeline. A bubble appeared, you're chatting with Nova. Under it, hi. I'm a real person. Which is exactly what a robot would say. I typed, hi. I'm a sentient raccoon, because I hadn't eaten lunch and chaos is my blood type. Nova replied with a laughing emoji and asked for my order number. I pasted it. The screen exploded with confetti and a banner reading YAY. Followed immediately by "We can't find that order." Nova wrote, "We celebrated too soon. We were two strangers in a digital party where the cake was a 404. We began detective mode. Email, name, zip autocorrect tried to make me Beagles it instead of Bagels it, which, to be fair, is a compelling lifestyle. Beagles is a newsletter, Nova said. Bagels is breakfast, I answered. Once corrected, the order popped up with the drama of a soap opera door slam. It had been delivered to Unit 3B, I live in 3D. A single alphabet pixel had sent my rug on a side quest. Nova offered options, refund now or neighborhood hunt. I asked about the hunt. Nova said, I send friendly emails to nearby units asking if a box labeled lamp, optimistic, is visiting. There are stickers. I chose the hunt because I wanted to witness friendly emails with stickers. While we waited, Nova confessed, I'm working from a kitchen table and my cat keeps trying to send coupons. In the background, I imagined a furry paw hitting F keys like a gambler. I told Nova my plant had opinions about east-facing windows. We bonded over house creatures. 7 minutes later, breaking, 3B had replied with a photo of my lamp, assembled in their foyer, unlit and looking guilty. Caption, we thought Destiny sent furniture. Nova, deadpan, we have explained Destiny's new policy. Arrangements were made. 3B would leave the lamp at my door with a peace offering of biscotti. Rug status? I asked. Nova, rug is in your lobby, leaning on a ficus, doing a sulk. Then the workflow went off-road. The chat triggered a survey mid-conversation with an unskippable confetti animation that declared nice. And then error, please try again. Nova sighed in text. Our confetti is very enthusiastic and also broken. I suggested an internal ticket called Confetti Bug, Party Too Soon. Nova said, I'm literally naming it that. We moved on to address fixes. Nova asked if I wanted to add a delivery note. I typed, deliver to D as in donut. The form rejected donut as invalid. Nova changed it on the backend and added a secret driver note, gate code is the cat waving in the window. Accurate. Then a twist, the system offered me a tutorial video titled How to Lamp. Curious, we both clicked. It was 5 minutes of hands elegantly attaching shade to base in a sunlit kitchen while a narrator said gentle 8 times. Nova whispered, in text I aspire to how gently that hand lives. We watched together like two raccoons learning fork. During a lull, Nova's cat triggered a canned response that read, we're so sorry for the inconvenience, first name, with my name in brackets because the variable misfired. Nova immediately sent OHNO and a photo of a paw on a keyboard. I laughed so hard I scared my plant. Nova typed, I will never betray you, bracket friend. The lamp arrived at my door, standing like a tall apology wearing a bow of painter's tape. Biscotti balanced on top like diplomacy. I confirmed receipt. Nova sent a celebratory gif of a raccoon giving a thumbs up. Where do they find these? The chat tried to fire confetti again, failed again, then printed confetti disabled due to feelings. We broke the party, I wrote. We improved the party, Nova wrote. We were done, but we weren't. Nova offered a 15% coupon code, and oh confetti, which felt like poetry. I promised to leave a review for their manager. That actually helps, Nova said, and please mention the cat's contributions. I wrote a review titled Nova vs. Confetti, a love story, praising relentless competence, cat-driven QA, and neighborhood hunt diplomacy. An hour later, someone from Celebrations Engineering, that's a real team name, apparently, emailed to say they had hotfixed the confetti bug and changed the trigger so it wouldn't celebrate errors. Thank you for your service, they wrote, attaching a screenshot of a new banner, YOI, legit. With a tiny raccoon in the corner. The next morning, 3B slid a note under my door, we adored your lamp for 20 minutes. Sorry for our brief custody. 3B. I taped the note to the inside of the closet where the lamp lives now, shining like forgiveness. A week later a postcard arrived with a cartoon raccoon holding a lamp, Nova. On the back, another code, bagels yes, and a postscript, cat type 3CXS, we took it as a sign to stop for the day. Some chats are transactions. This one became a micro-sitcom with arcs, mystery, conflict, confetti, resolution, and a raccoon cameo. I still have the code saved as a reminder that if you meet people where they are hungry, confused, bracketed, you can improvise your way to light.